This short tutorial discusses methods for improving sentence clarity. We will look at three common problems in writing. One is the use of unclear pronouns. Another is using too many words that are unnecessary. And the third is using a passive sentence structure. First, we'll look at vague pronouns and how to avoid those. The three main culprits are the phrases this is or was, it is or was, and there are or were. I have highlighted the vague pronouns in this passage. If you'll notice that the word there in the first sentence does not really refer to a particular noun. The same happens in the second sentence. This is something. What is the this that is something? In the last sentence, it is good. What is good? As you'll notice, each of these pronouns, there, this, it, and there, do not refer to any particular noun, and therefore they are vague. Now let's look at another common problem of using unnecessary words. The main culprits in this particular problem is the use of vague words and the use of unnecessary repetition. Let's look at the same passage again. Notice in the second sentence that the word something is used twice. That is unnecessary repetition. You do not need to use the same word in the same sentence. In the third sentence, I highlighted the phrase a good thing. That's a very vague phrase. The word good is not very specific, and the word thing is not very precise. I also highlighted the phrase and see. If you'll notice earlier in the sentence, the words look at come before and see. Those two do not need to be in the same sentence. Look and see mean precisely the same thing. And finally, let's look at avoiding passive voice. The main culprits in this problem are the passive verbs such as is, am, are, was, were. Let's revisit our passage and look for passive verbs. If you'll notice that in almost every instance, the passive verb is also associated with the vague pronoun. These two problems tend to go hand in hand. However, there is one passive verb in the middle of the first sentence, are, that is not associated with one of the vague pronouns. Now that we have identified the problems with the sentences, let's see if we can edit them for clarity. Look at this first sentence. Look for the main subject and the main verb of the sentence. If you'll notice, the main subject is many and the verb is have. Now, let's see. Many have what? Many have a problem. And many have a problem with what? Many have a problem with weak sentences. So, if we look at the heart of the meaning of the sentence, we could edit it to say, many of you have a problem with weak sentence structures. Let's look at the second sentence. We first of all want to get rid of the vague pronoun phrase, this is, and then we need to do an edit on the word something. What does the something actually refer to? You can do something about what? It's really the problem that this sentence is referring to. So we could actually be more precise to say, you can correct this problem, though, as an edit for this particular sentence. Let's look at the last sentence now. The main part of this sentence is, look at each sentence for vague pronouns. We could say, first look at each sentence for vague pronouns, but we can even make that more precise by changing the word look, which is rather vague, to a more precise word, examine. And instead of just look for vague pronouns, we could say to identify vague pronouns. Therefore, a very precise edit for this particular sentence would be, first examine each sentence to identify vague pronouns. Notice that the edits on this passage have now made this passage much more precise and much easier to read. In conclusion, some of the solutions we've discussed for improving sentence clarity include identifying vague pronouns, eliminating vague and repetitious words, and revising passive sentences so that they use precise and active verbs.